So right now, and I know that he released a couple of years ago that he found like 50, over 50 more. But now he was in the phase of finding which one do something. And then he could start research on those ones. And
And when you say they found these, so where are they looking for these?
basically, they're glandular or organ extracts. And that's one of the beauty of it. They're all very small peptides, 2, 3, or 4 amino acids. And in a funny way, not only the bioregulators, the smaller peptides are the one who have the bigger impacts on the body. I'm thinking about GHK. By the way, Carrinson, when he wrote about GHK, he didn't discover it, but he said, well, I wish I had discovered that one too. He loves it. You have the TRH, the tyrotropin releasing hormone, 3 amino acid, but despite the name, it has a very small effect on the TRH.
Welcome to the Peptides and Longevity podcast. Each week, we'll dive into groundbreaking science, innovative therapies, and the future of health and longevity. Alongside visionary physicians and experts, we'll explore how peptides, cutting-edge medicine, and lifestyle strategies can redefine the way we age. Get ready to transform your health, optimize your vitality, and unlock the secrets to a longer, healthier life. Let's get started.
Hi, this is Dr. Kent Holtorf with another episode. Today we'll be interviewing Jean-François Tremblay. I'm sure I butchered that, but he's going to talk about peptide bioregulators and upcoming therapy. He's in his undergraduate studies in biochemistry and also mechanical engineering and kinesiology. He then pursued his graduate studies in pharmacy to finally complete his master's in pharmacology. His interest in peptides and their applications started over 20 years ago. He has consulted privately since then, anti-aging, sports performance, and general health. 5 years ago, he started his own company specializing in the synthesis of peptides. He's a wonderful character and makes everyone smile. So I welcome you, Francois. Thank you for being on.
Hey, thanks to you for having me.
Yeah, so we'll talk about bioregulators. What the heck are peptide bioregulators?
Well, basically, the first ever peptides that were discovered, and that a lot of people like Epita is one of them. So to start off with, they were discovered. I couldn't find any studies that are older than 30 years, but it's that Russian doctor actually like almost 50 years ago. They came out at the time, the Cold War and all that. So all those US, they did it. The government asked them to find something to make their soldiers better. So he was a military doctor. So he started to search, and he came about peptides. The first one being epitalon, then Timalen, and then he realized there is a bunch of them. So that's basically how it started back there. Now, I'm not sure if the Russians were
And
very happy with that.
bifurcations, we'll call it epitalion and thymulin, just so people.
But we could talk about that. There is a huge difference between Timulin and Timalin. A lot of confusion on that. But I'll come back to that. So that's how they started. And he found that they had a profound effect. Again, with epitalon being the first one, first with mice, then with dogs and monkeys, and then humans, he found anti-aging effect. And it's mostly known for the telomere thing, it lengthen the telomere.
Yes.
But that actual part, it was done like 12, 15 years ago, and I'm not sure they had the right ways or the accurate ways to measure telomeres. And I wouldn't count on that actually at this point. But it has proven so many good effects that you cannot discard it, even if it wouldn't do nothing for the telomeres. Basically, first, that's how it started. And again, he discovered, and right now there is a list of he discovered more than 25, but there is a list of 25 that we know what they do and we know they have a positive effects because it did discover more, but found that they had no physiological effects. Maybe they were byproducts of a bigger peptides. We don't know. So right now, and I know that he released a couple of years ago that he found like 50, over 50 more. But now he was in the phase of finding which one do something. And then he could start research on those ones. And
And when you say they found these, so where are they looking for these?
basically, they're glandular or organ extracts. And that's one of the beauty of it. They're all very small peptides, 2, 3, or 4 amino acids. And in a funny way, not only the bioregulators, the smaller peptides are the one who have the bigger impacts on the body. I'm thinking about GHK. By the way, Carrington, when he wrote about GHK, he didn't discover it, but he said, well, I wish I had discovered that one too. He loves it. And you have the TRH, the tyrotropin releasing hormone, 3 amino acid, but despite the name, it has a very small effect on the thyroid, but
Yeah, it does a lot of things.
a lot of things that are not related directly to the thyroid. So, it's those smaller ones, but those one, yeah. So they're extract from organs or system. And actually, epithanol, known again as anti-aging, is actually the bioregulator of the hormonal system. So you have timalin, that is the bioregulator of the immune system. And then violin is too, and the spleen by the same token. And then there is one for the liver, one for the kidneys, one for the lungs. There are 2 or 3 for the brain and nervous system. So, and basically each organ produce its own peptide that regulates that same organ and they work a bit like adaptogens. If a system is
Yeah.
out of whack, it's going to bring it down. If it's not working well enough, it's going to bring it up. So that's another nice
Like they along with like they call BPC 157 body pressure compound. That if they're hypercoagulable, it brings it down. If they don't coagulate enough, it brings it up. If their blood sugar is high, it brings down our blood pressure, and it multiplies. They're very interesting.
Well, generally speaking, that's the beauty of peptides, that there are some, they're intelligent interactions. Not intelligence, like you cannot play chess with them, but the interactions. And that brings about fears from some people because there are peptides. I divert a bit, but I think it's important, like BPC 157 or thymosin beta 4, that are good to be used in, like, for example, in cancer cases. But a lot of people will jump because they say, oh, but what about the angiogenesis? Well, that's the beauty of it. They don't push their actions, the peptide. There will be angiogenesis if needed. So if in a case of cancerous cells around it and the angiogenesis is not needed, then it won't happen. It will work for what it's needed within the realm of what it can do as a peptide.
Yeah, and the angiogenesis, I mean, so does vitamin D, and
Yeah, and now lately they have thought, well, maybe it's there to help actually,
because they'll find more thymosin beta 4 around the cancer. So they say, oh, it must be caused the cancer. Well, it's like every time I see a fire, I see these firemen. So these guys must be starting the fire.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. That's the concept that was wrongly interpreted before, and now people are catching up to it. So basically, they're very intelligent in what they do. So that's why it's rare to have side effects from peptides. I'm not saying you cannot have effects like to immune response, for example, but that's not a side effect of the peptide. That's a side effect from your condition. And not, would you understand, like people that are allergic to peanuts, that the allergy is not a side effect of the peanut. It's your condition that bring about those
they have immune dysfunction.
Exactly. So I haven't found actual side effects from peptides. They're always brought about by the condition where sometimes you have to be careful. But as doctors, it's the kind of compounds you can use, and you don't have to worry that your client or patients will call you for the morning.
All right, so you're diving deep into peptides and longevity on this podcast, and we're right there with you. Integrative Peptides stands out, trusted by over 10,000 doctors to deliver real results for their patients. These premium peptides are your key to unlocking vitality, recovery, and a longer, stronger life. Visit integrativepeptides.com and use the code PODLIFE for 10% off your first order. Again, integrativepeptides.com. Use the code PODLIFE for 10% off. It's time to elevate your journey, starting now.
I train doctors, I say, you can't really screw it up, so don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And more so, BPC 157, before I call them warrant-proof peptides, meaning that if somebody comes to you and you don't know what's wrong, give him those two and something good will happen.
Yeah, they are able to pull a shield, and it's you mentioned a lot of the epithelium, or however you want to pronounce it. Yeah, the studies showing like menopausal rats, they start menstruating again and actually add babies. And we've used them for fertility. We haven't really seen someone start menstruating again, but their FSH and LH will come down, and their AMH will, which tells a ovarian reserve, will actually go up. So it does seem to anti-age the anti-Mullerian hormone, and they're more fertile. Yeah. It's interesting.
In that sense, I've used it a lot many years ago when I was still training people with women who were like in physique competition or any kind of very demanding competitions where they had a very strict diet. Sometimes they would take things that would put their hormonal system, their substances and all that, and the actual stress of training. So right after the competition, I would put them right up on a Epitalon, and in 3, 4, 5 days, everything was coming back to normal. And they would sleep like crazy at 12, 13 hours. But, it was a system pushing them to sleep. There you go.
Yeah.
And like it would put them back on track very, very fast hormonally.
And how about the epithelium versus pinealion, different effects?
Yeah, of course. Pinealon is brain peptides, and it does have an effect on the nervous system. So we started to use it, not me, I'm not a doctor, but a few practitioners I keep up with, and, feed them on actually serious cases of neurodegenerative diseases.
Those are pills for pineal gland, correct?
Exactly. Pinealon, no, it's for the actual brain. I don't know why they call it pinealon. I don't think it's from the pineal gland. Or might be. I'm not sure about this one. But the effect is in the cortex of the brain and the nervous system. So in any case of neurodegenerative conditions, they have a good effect, but in therapeutic dosages, not in preventive dosages. So basically meaning, again, for Epitalon, the classic dosage is like a total of 100 milligrams twice a year. And I'll come back why only twice a year. But keep in mind, that's an anti-aging protocol, and it's basically a preventive. You prevent aging and age-related diseases. So, and you see the full effect when you look at the studies by Cavinson. It's over 12, 15 years where you see all those results. And so people, many times they start using them and they tell me, well, I didn't feel anything. Well, okay, well, if you start smoking today, it's going to take maybe 10, 20, 30 years before the cancer show up.
Yeah, this there's happened. Yeah, like my mom said that she smoked 5 packs a day. She goes, "Oh, so and so never got cancer," Yeah. Yeah, the study where they gave the epithelium with thymulin on cardiovascular patients, significant cardiovascular disease, over 65, I believe, 100 and something patients, followed them for 15 years. And the ones on the treatment, basically their heart function got better, dramatically less cancer, dramatically less cardiovascular disease. They live longer, less morbidity, better quality of life. It's pretty amazing.
Basically, everything that normally goes down
Yeah.
goes back up. And the survival rate increased by 67%. No, they're amazing. About thymolin and thymulin, they actually are very two different peptides. Thymolin with an A, it's a 2 amino acid peptide, and that's the bioregulator. Thymulin is a product of the immune system, the same as thymosin alpha 1.
Right.
So to understand the concept, thymulin would be to the thymus what insulin is to the pancreas. So if you have diabetes, you take insulin, it will regulate your sugar levels, but it won't do nothing for the pancreas. So the thymulin will regulate your immune system. That's why it's a very good peptide, but it won't do anything to regulate your thymus, as thymolin with an A will.
Yeah.
So
That's one that's available here. Yeah.
well, the problem, thymolin, actually, most of the time you'll see thymulin sold as thymolin. The end result is good, and that's what you want, upregulation of the immune system. But the point, we made some thymolin, and we found out that it's the 2 amino acids, it doesn't dissolve in water. So if you buy something it says thymolin, and you can dissolve it
Really,
in water,
water soluble. Maybe that would absorb orally then, because that's a big problem.
probably sublingual.
Yeah.
In that case, usually if they're more fat, like hydrophob, then they can be absorbed sublingual.
Yeah, that's the big problem, is they're very polar and hydrophobic. So hard to get them to absorb. And a lot of people are just putting them in nasal sprays and just assuming, or sublingual, assuming they're going to absorb, but you can't.
Yeah. And again, they're not that expensive, but they're not cheap. Why? Just inject it. That's where you get the most bang for your buck. You get 100% of it, and then diabetics, they do it like many times a day, and they're fine with that.
Yeah. Usually women are fine. Men, the bigger the guy, the less they're going to.
Yeah, suppositories would be good, but then again, I'm not sure both men wouldn't be happy about that.
Gotcha. What other bioregulator have you found effective?
Personally, I've therapeutically, epitalon, thymolin, and thymulin in cases of cancer, and of course in anti-aging protocols. Pinealon, we're using a lot now. Cartilax, which is the joint and articulation peptide, is good. I wouldn't say amazingly good, but there is that one Russian study done by Kalinson where they had 4 groups. They gave one group the Cartilax, the second group they gave that cartilage supplement that you buy at the pharmacy.
Chondroitin or glucosamine?
Glucosamine. So they gave like the classic 1,500 milligrams. Then a third group where they gave both, and a fourth where they gave nothing. So they found that Cartilax and glucosamine, which is actually a good supplement, had pretty much the same effect on joints, pain, and they measured a lot of things. But they found that when you use them together, then you have a synergetic effect, and bang, you get a bigger effect.
Right.
And on the joints. So that one, if you want the most out of it, you take it with
different mechanisms and go ahead. And have you found Vesugen? I have some of that. Was trying for blood vessels because
I haven't a lot of experience with it yet. We make it, but not on paper. It looks great, but I cannot talk a lot of experience on this one yet.
Yeah, so we tried that in the one for the kidneys. Yeah. So don't know. Yeah, the thing is you don't know. But first set of blood work.
Usually, what I've found in general, the difference between preventive dosage and therapeutic is there is a ratio of about 1:5, 1:10. So like epitalon, we saw good results in cancer, like almost overnight, but they were taking 30 milligrams a day and nonstop. They wouldn't stop after 10 days.
Yeah.
Same thing, if it's therapeutically, again, just like them up as much as
And can they tolerate it? It gets a little pricey.
That's the thing.
I've heard you mention like the thymosin beta 4 study, how high they went. And
Yeah, it's one study that was done in 2010 with thymosin beta 4. They went up to 1,260 milligrams. So, like, let's say you work with 10 milligram vials, that's 126 vials. So, of course, they did it IVs. And in human, so after 2 weeks, basically, they concluded that it was harmless with a few minor side effects in some cases. But overall, and obviously they concluded we won't try higher because nobody will ever use that much.
Then that's 1,000 because we're using microgram doses. That's 1,000 times. Yeah.
No, but
Try that with anything out there. Try that with Tylenol. Try it with water.
no, you can't. I mean, no. So basically, except for a few like L37, which is antiviral, and it may have serious side effects if you take a few. You have to be careful.
Yeah, the L37 we'd start very low because I was looking, I blind myself, but started L30, so I could not find any dosing except for rat dosing. I'm like, okay, I'll try this much. Oh my gosh, way so much it just killed the oven. So I had the biggest hurts, whenever it come out of my skin. So it ends up we give a tiny fraction of that dose. But I do like that peptide. But yeah, that's one you got to be careful. Lamb people with. Yeah.
But generally, like, yeah, no, I don't see. Again, as I expressed before, it's basically okay. Let's say you have autoimmune condition. You may have a reaction, an autoimmune response to the actual peptide. So, you have to be careful with those. But those are not side effects from the peptide. They're side effects or an effect from the condition.
Well, it's interesting. And I really found this out in myself. And we'll get people say, they get a big well when they do the injection and say, okay, it's allergic, but I found in myself when I was sick, and my immune system was off, I would get the biggest welts. And then as I got better, I would inject and would never not get the welt. So really see people get kind of that welt from it. It shows they have immune dysfunctions.
Exactly.
We don't think it's a standard allergic reaction.
No. And many times, if it's serious as a reaction, because I've seen a couple of times, actually, people have a very bad reaction.
Yeah, but you could be hard dating, but yeah.
But at that point, you introduce thymosin alpha 1 for a few days or week, and then you can start the actual peptide therapy if thymosin alpha 1 wasn't there. And usually you can.
Yeah, well, once you get the immune system back in balance, then they don't have that. So, like when I give talks on peptides and go through all these studies, that the typical response of doctors are, why haven't I heard of these? There's,
I get that. I get that a lot too.
What's your thought on that?
Well, big pharmaceutical companies, they knew about that all the time. They just shut up about it. Now they're in the game of peptides. They found a way through probably very expensive lobbying, because peptides, you cannot patent them per se, because they're US produced. But now they went around that, and if you look at the latest patents of peptides, they patent the way you make it, which is easy to go around, but they patent the application of. So it's in the title, patent for this peptide and its application. And then they will list everything they know it's good for. So what's the implication is, since it's patented, now they put it on the market. So you as a doctor, let's say you prescribe thymosin beta 4, then you send off your client to the pharmacy or a compounding pharmacy. I'm not sure if that will be required by you to write why you prescribe it, but most likely the pharmacist will ask, what is it for? Or maybe it's going to call you. So if it falls within one of those conditions, then by law, it will be forced to sell to the patient the one that is made by that pharmaceutical company.
And what I don't understand, I've seen these too. It's like they're taking peptides that have all this research, and then and then getting a patent on the application, when I thought that would not be allowed, because if a person in the industry, it would not be obvious that then they can patent it. But there's studies on it showing it does this and that, and then they get a patent on it for that. So it seems like, I'm like, how can that be?
Well, that's the sickness of our pharmaceutical system now. Basically, it's
like
shouldn't be, but
40 years and then they patent it under for a condition.
there you go. That's what they're aiming at now, and that's why they got into the game, and that's why you see things happening slowly. But like with TaylorMade, they say, okay, you cannot make this one, or this one anymore, and they're slowly getting into that.
I worry about compounding pharmacies, and they have the thing with where they had a list that you couldn't compound. Now they're going to list that this list you can compound from. There's going to be very few things. Like they said things like, oh, you can't compound quercetin because we have a drug for that.
They're going to use the same argument.
Are you kidding me? Or they say it's difficult to compound. Well, difficult for whom?
Leave it to us if it's difficult or not.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be very few things, or they'll say, well, if someone takes too much, they could have a problem, And with these doctors that were debating this should be allowed, they would say, well, they wouldn't even look at the literature. They don't need to look at the literature. Yeah, like alpha-lipoic acid, they said can't be given IV, and they just eliminating everything. They said they weren't going to touch the hormones, but that's going to be on the list. I'm very worried that T3 is going to be gone because they're going to say, oh, it's not necessary. We have Synthroid.
Well, that's what they did in Canada. So you cannot find T3 anymore for many years. T4, that's it. Synthroid, T4, and that's the only thing. There is still, like in Montreal, there is one pharmacy, compounding pharmacy, where I get my armor extract, and this is it. And most endocrinologists, they say no. You ask them, they're going to say no. T4 that's all you.
Yeah. And, I've written numerous reviews on how T4 doesn't work for anyone, especially any sick person, and with hundreds of references, but they still say, no, you don't need it. Or they'll say it's dangerous. It's like, are you kidding me?
And as a practitioner, you should know, and because I have a doctor, I actually got suspended for 9 months because he prescribed the extract, and what he said, yeah, on paper in studies, yeah, they do pretty much the same thing, but he said if you ask the patients, how do you feel, and 80% will tell you they feel much better with the extract than with the synthetic T4. So, the blood levels, they're both good.
It's like they had bipolar patients that were treatment resistant. They tried on average 14 medication with no improvement. They gave them straight T3, and 80% improved, and 75% had total resolution of symptoms. 35% or something, total resolution of symptoms. T4 doesn't work for these patients. They don't utilize it. But anyways, I'm getting that.
And the extract, you have the T3, you have the T2, and most probably some cofactors we don't even know about yet that support that.
So it sounds like very hopefully upcoming thing, and it doesn't get quashed by, big pharma and the medical board and the FDA are all kind of in the boots. So, yeah. So with kind of in closing, I think this is a really upcoming thing. Where do you think it's going to lead?
Well, I'm just going to say this. Why do you think so many U.S. and Canadian doctors open clinics in Mexico and in the Caribbean? It's not because, of course it's nice. Being Canadian, I would love to have an office down there, but that's not their first reason. It's for that reason, basically, so they can continue to offer the best treatments without being bothered by FDA regulations.
Yeah, and it's even, I think, in this whole integrative space or whatever you want to call it, a standard doctor will say, oh, there's no evidence, which is crazy. It's more evidence based than what you learn, and
And it's actually a sad thing that's happening in medicine in general. 30 years ago when I was young, I would go see, because as a doctor, what's the first thing you do? First thing when you see a patient, you ask him questions. No test, no nothing. First questions.
yeah,
And if you're good with that, you know what's wrong with him. But now the system, like, it doesn't trust you anymore. They force you to do all those tests to back up your diagnosis that you had probably within 10, 15, depending, but very fast. After, if you have a doctor that has a bit of experience, they say, yeah, this is it, this is this. Sometimes you will need a couple of tests. Maybe it's lupus, maybe it's fibromyalgia. Let's look at it. But you have a pretty good idea. Now the system forces you to back up everything you do, why you do it, and everything. And I find it amazingly sad, because it's like you have all that formation, that knowledge and experience, and suddenly they're telling you, no, we don't trust you.
yeah. And everything comes down now to, in terms of like protocols, that especially hospital based or anyone affiliated with Kaiser or whatever it may be, you do this, everything is memorization. And it's, the art of medicine is gone. And I think at some point it's going to be put all their labs and symptoms in a computer. It's going to be artificial doctor AI.
That's where it's going to.
And that's the thing. So all these patient that works well for a patient fits in a little box. But if they don't, that system breaks down. And that's where the doctor goes, oh, you must be in your head,
Yeah. That's a classic. Basically, they are in the limbo.
And which I think is where peptides have a big place. And I think you'd agree with that.
If things would go as they should, the future of medicine, and I'm talking 5 to 10 years, no more, because things are moving fast. You would go see a doctor, probably 60, 70% of his prescriptions would be peptides. And soon, not now, because with our biomes, the probiotics we have, now they're mapping it, but it's going to be like the DNA. You map it, and 20 years ago, we said, that's it, now we got it. Then epigenetic came. So I think there is an epibiome that goes with that interactions. But once they get down that path, that's going to be mainstream. It should be a mainstream in medicine.
But it's going to get more complicated, because they're finding the viral, the bacteriophages, the viruses of the bacteria play a big part. So they're
exactly. It's very complex. It's not for tomorrow, but I have big hope, because things are happening faster and faster. Another 5-10 years, and they should have a pretty good idea of what to do with that. And that's going to be a big, big line in medicine to use. I think it's going to be very important.
So just kind of in closing here, you'd say epitalion's probably the main bioregulator.
Epitalon, it's kind of hormonal system. That regulates
the most experience with.
And Thimalin, well, even if you use one that it's called Thimalin and it's Stimulin, it's good. It's gonna basically, because in those aging studies, and it figures, epitalon is good. You add Thimalin or Violin, which is, and you can inject, it's water soluble. If you have a strong immune system, you will get less sick, so hence healthy, more healthy, and probably you live longer.
Yeah, then also that immune system goes along with monitoring the body for cancer.
There you go. So the main ones in the anti-aging protocol: epitalon, Thimulin, Violin, Thymosin alpha 1. One of those will do the trick. That combination, it's a winning combination.
Yeah, I think those are the most studied as well. Yeah. And we like that combination.
And the other ones, in terms of prevention, like the one for the liver, the one for the kidneys, I would use them in a preventive approach like epitalon if you had a familiar background. So let's say you say, like, half of my family, they got diabetes.
Yeah.
Well, okay, maybe that's not so much genetic. It could be you pass to your children the way you eat. So it may not be that genetic after all.
Yeah.
But anyway, if there is a condition that really, then yeah, you could use preventively the one for the pancreas, or if in your family there is a weakness for the lungs, then yeah, don't. I wouldn't suggest everybody to use them all.
Yeah, they need to be taking so many.
Yeah, but just to pinpoint one thing or two that you see as kind of a weakness in your family, that's a good indication, and then you can throw in those and a preventive protocol.
Gotcha. Great. Yeah, we'll see what the future holds. And I hope I'll be talking more about all these. And
Hey, that'd be my pleasure.
yeah. So thank you so much. Again, love your personality and you're always searching for new knowledge. That's wonderful. And so I'd like to thank you for being on with us.
Hey, you're very welcome. It was my pleasure.
Great. All right. Goodbye.
Thanks for joining us on the Peptides and Longevity podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. It helps us reach more listeners passionate about optimizing their health. For more insights, resources, and updates, visit our website at www.holtorfmed.com. Together, let's embrace a future of health and vitality. Until next time, stay inspired and keep thriving.